Since I was 15 years old, I've had a burning desire to start a business, always thinking of idea after idea. At 19, I found an idea that worked, and ever since poured all my time and effort into it to reach success. Join me on my journey to the top, where I interview business experts, marketing wizards, and the successful people of the world to discover how to make it in business and life as a young person eager to succeed. My name's Louis Adkins, and this is Young and Successful. So, Craig, I've seen you talking a lot recently about success and habits and accountability and various things like that. I wanted to know, what, in your eyes, does it mean to be successful?
I think it's a good question, because I think the thing is with success, it's quite a personal thing. So everybody will deem success in a very different way, because people's goals are different, people's aspirations, objectives, business plans, and things like that will all be very, very different. I think people need to understand that. For me, success has been very much around my success is deemed as freedom. That was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Being from a corporate background, being told what to do, where to be, being told how to micromanage advisors and mortgage brokers and things like that as well. It was always about that. So for me, success was always about, and I didn't really realize this until I set my own firm up and had total freedom, if there is such a thing as total freedom. But for me, success is all about the freedom of being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean from a financial thing, and that's not like in terms of, oh, I can just go on holiday when I want, or buy whatever car I want, or things that not the material side of things, but actually being able to do things that are important to me and within my life. So being able to sort of spend time away from the office, going out doing something that I want to do, and enjoying the life side of things. Don't get me wrong, I've still got bills to pay and mortgages to pay and things like that. But success for me is all about having the freedom to do what I want to do with my life, and not being told by other people what I should be doing in my life, or what I should be doing and when I should be doing it, if that
Yeah.
does make sense.
Yeah. So, by your definition, then, would you consider yourself successful?
Um, I would say yes at the moment. It's a very quite a black and white question. I would say yes at the moment. I think it's been funny enough, we've been talking about this today with somebody else about we've been reflecting on the last couple of years, and
Mm-hmm.
7 years ago when I set my firm up was very different. It was what I thought success was then is very different to what I think success is now. And I think success was been ingrained in you as in the corporate world of, these are and the brokers that I speak to as well, they're told what success should be looking like for them. Whereas for me, do I see myself as successful? I do, but that's not from an ego point of view, or me being big-headed or anything like that, because that's far from the person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I am free. I do have the freedom to do what I want to do
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
choose what I want to do when I want to do it. So I would deem myself as, yes, freedom, like of having that freedom. Because if I want to do something, I want to do it, and I see it's important in my life, and it's something that I want to do, then yeah, absolutely, I'll do it. And I do encourage the brokers that I work with to also have that freedom as well, and not the micromanagement, because that's what a lot of success looks like for a lot of brokers that I work with. It's about that work-life balance and things like that. Well, it's not
Mm.
just about the numbers and the numbers and the numbers. It's not about that. It's about being able to live your life as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So, and I think for a lot of people, being clear on that, what success is to you is very important, because then it's like, if you don't know what it is, then how do you know when you've achieved it?
And so I think that's a difficult thing. Is sort of every broker, like I said at the beginning, every broker's goals and aspirations will be very different, and it's okay for those to change as well. My goals, aspirations 7 years ago are very different to what they are now. but I can choose those. I've got the freedom to do that and choose what my aspirations and goals look like. I'm not being told what that should be looking like.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And then so to people who are just starting out on, trying to become successful, what would you say to those people?
They you talked a little bit about the beginning is about being accountable to yourself. Accountability is quite a big thing for me, and I think it's like you've got to be accountable to goals and to your aspirations and what you're wanting to achieve. I think the first thing is to understand is that what's understanding what success looks like to you.
Hmm.
And so that could be over the next month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, in terms of what success does look like for those individuals. But it's about that personal goals and personal aspirations.
Hmm.
So set those goals, set those aspirations, be adaptable with those as well, making sure that you're reviewing those goals on a fairly consistent basis. And it's okay to tweak those goals and it's okay to learn, it's okay to make mistakes. I think that sort of when you're first starting out, you're very aware that you don't want to be making mistakes, that you don't want to fail. It's very much, but it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to trip up. But the main thing is with it is that you learn from that and be a stronger person, be a better person, be a better business owner, whatever that looks like for you. Is that because this is sort of an ongoing thing? I think if you look at, it's a difficult one with success because if you put in a lot of emphasis in terms of financial goals and financial aspirations,
Hmm.
and you will always want more. Like the thing is, what I found is that you will always want more. So it's a case of, okay, well, we've done this now. I've got this.
Mm.
These are the personal attributes that I've got, personal things that I have. So, okay, well, so what's next? What's next? What's next? Where it's okay to have those aspirations, but it's about understanding that when you are successful, it's okay to be there and feel comfortable being successful. And yes, you want to move forward, and yes, you want to grow, and yes, you want to develop, but appreciate getting to a point where you do feel that you are successful because people don't do that. People will get to a point thinking, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve now. So what's the next thing? What's the next thing? But not actually taking the moment to then realize, actually, this is okay. And I learned that. And that's something that I was very much aware of now looking back that it was always, I've done that now. It's on to the next thing. It's on to the next thing. It's on to the next. Whereas from a from somebody that's it's very rare that like you ask that question in terms of do I feel myself as successful? Nobody's ever asked me that before, to be fair, Louis. That's a great because it's a difficult people don't feel comfortable answering that question because
No,
they
they
say,
don't.
well, no, I've never seen myself as successful because I always wanted more, always wanted more, always wanted more, always wanted more. Whereas actually right now in the space in my life, do I see myself successful? Absolutely. Yes. But that's not like I said, that's not an ego. It's just a case of that I'm comfortable in terms of, and I feel as though I'm in a good place where freedom exists.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to recognize if you're not comfortable in your situation, that you're not comfortable in your situation, and then do things about it to try and make yourself comfortable in your situation. Do you know what I mean as well? I think that's like a first step for some people as well. Some people maybe don't want to admit that they aren't happy with certain things. Hey, it's Louis. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I have a quick favour to ask, which is if you enjoyed the episode, could you just take a couple of seconds to leave a review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts? It really helps the show get out to as many people as possible so more young people can learn about how to reach success. So if you could, just take a few seconds to leave a review. I would really, really appreciate it. That's it. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the episode. Right, so on to what I see you talk about the most and what one of my favorite topics is. I want to talk about just quickly about habits and why you think they're important for success.
I think I learned sort of, it's not something that I had when I first started my business. It's very going from employed to then self-employed. You have habits, but the ones of you're told where to go, what to do, how to do it, and things like that. Whereas when you go self-employed, the biggest challenge setting up your own firm or just going self-employed is that nobody's telling you to do those, what habits you should have, where to go, what to do, and things. And so I quickly realized that habits was an important thing to me. I'd lost that going self-employed. There were certain habits that I'd lost.
Hmm.
There were certain habits that I still had, which ones that I wanted to keep. I think the thing is with habits, the reason why I care so much about habits is because it just gives me structure in terms of
Hmm.
I'm taking action within my business. So if I've got the right habits and the right habits that I'm doing day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, it's easier to then build a strong business and build on those habits to be successful. And it's all about taking action and achieving what you want to achieve. If you have no habits, you will just drift day to day, week to week, month to month, and not achieve what you set out to achieve.
Yeah.
Whereas if the habits, so like I've talked about things before, like for that, I've got quite a routine, habitual structure first thing in the morning. There's certain things that happen before generally 7 o'clock every day. But the things that I want to do are now habit forming, which just means they just happen every single day, day in, day out. I don't have to think about them because there's no decision to make. The
Hmm.
decision was made years ago. There's no decision make or no option to make. It's a case of this happens. And so you know you've got that right when something happened to me recently that then throughout my whole habitual things first thing in the morning, and I was lost. I didn't realize until that moment how powerful I understood, but I didn't realize how powerful the habits were because then I missed them as soon like my head was thrown out as soon as that I didn't have those. I do this now, then I do this, then I do this. I was lost for a little time
Hmm.
because I couldn't have the habits. They said of what happened. So my habits were just thrown out. Don't get and like now I'm back on my habits and the structure. I feel myself again. I feel as though I'm moving forward again in
Yeah.
terms of it. So it's like I feel as though when I didn't have them, I was missing out, and I was annoyed with myself. It's sort of I couldn't do it. It was physically impossible for me to do what I needed, what I normally do first thing in the morning and
Yeah.
during the day. It was physically impossible. I'm out the other side of that now, back on the habits, and I'm like, wow, I'm back on it. I feel buzzing. Whereas I felt lost. So I understood even more the power of habits because I thought, wow, this is where people are when they don't have habits and structure
Hmm.
first thing in the morning or during the day. I think I just don't want to be there now. And I understood, but now I truly get what it's like not having habits and the benefits of having habits, if that does come
Yeah.
across that
I
way.
really, really relate to it because I had quite a structure 2 weeks ago, just before 2 weeks ago, where I'd wake up every morning at 6:30 and I'd be at the gym, and then I'd come back from the gym and I'd read for half an hour. And then after I'd read, I'd do my little jobs on LinkedIn. And that was my morning. That's what I did every morning. I was doing that for a very long time, but then I became ill. And when I was ill, I stopped going to the gym in the morning because I couldn't go to the gym. And then I noticed that just by me stopping going to the gym in the morning, it then also stopped me reading and it also stopped me not doing my LinkedIn jobs. And I didn't, and to be honest, it was okay because I was quite ill. So I thought to myself, it's all right. But what I noticed is just me not doing it for a week. It first of all made everything else way harder to do in my day to day, like just other bits of work because I wasn't in the mindset. But then even now, I'm still slowly trying to get back to doing the things. And I look back to a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, how did I do all that? And it's because I've sort of come out of it and it's now like really hard to get back into it again. Um, but what you're saying about drifting also, I kind of get as well because that's sort of what happened to me. Like the last week, I've been drifting a bit because I've not had the structure in place. And I think this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you was I think no one really, thinks that they're going to fail. Like everyone, especially young people, they all like have their ideas like I'm going to achieve this and I'm going to do this really cool, amazing thing. So no one really thinks they're going to fail, but obviously more people fail than succeed, unfortunately. And why I just want to know why you think that is. Is that a drifting thing, or is it that people just fail, or is it because they just drift and never really start achieving?
I think a lot of it's down to persistence. I think when it's
Mm,
not having that persistence that you know you're on the right path, you know you're going in the right direction, you're having to dig deep, and there's going to be really, really good days. But you know what? There's going to be some really, really bad days, and it's that time when you work, if you're working on your own, it's your business. You've got nobody to talk to, you've got nobody to relate to, you've got nobody to hold you accountable and answer to, and then you start to drift. It's then you're going to go back to where you're going to go back to your comfort zone. So if you're setting up a new business in a new, totally different industry, you're going to go back to what you know. So at the first hurdle, it's like, oh, am I doing the right thing? You might question yourself, but you'll still keep going. But if you're getting that day in, day out, and you've not got any help or support or somebody to work with or just somebody to vent or talk to, at some point you're going to go, do you know what? This is not for me. And I'll go back to what I knew before. And that's where I see people that from my industry within mortgage broking, it's people will go back to what they did before and leave the industry
mm,
because maybe they've got the help or the support or the drive or the persistence. But it's just, I think expectations there as well in terms of they think from my industry point of view, mortgage broking, they think, oh, I can be a mortgage broker, I'll get my CMAP and happy days and jobs done kind of thing. Whereas we all know that's like that's not even the first step. That's literally zero point 0.1 of the first steps kind of thing to do
hmm
that. I think it goes back to A, lack of support, and B, it's just having that persistence to then know that you're on the right path. 'Cause if you don't know on the right path, if you've not got no help and support, it's okay having the persistence, but you might not know that you're on the right path. You might think, yeah, I'm going, and this is where I'm going, but you could be going in a completely wrong direction. Whereas, and that's why people fail because then they will give in or go in the totally wrong direction and do something totally different.
hmm
You're gonna when the going get when it gets tough, we're gonna fall back on what we know and the place we came from, and so that's why people just go back to the comfort, going, yeah. I talked to somebody exactly the same thing the other day was about going self-employed and their sort of support network, somebody that they was their support network has gone self-employed and failed. So then they were being told, oh, you'll never make self-employed work, you'll never make it work, you'll never make it work because that other person was influencing them because they didn't make it work,
hmm
but because they took the easy option, and that's because that is the easy option to go back to what you knew before. But you will get to that point, you will get to that pivot which I'm long past that now, where it's a case of, could I ever go back to what I did before 7 years ago in the corporate world? Hell no, I can't. Never in a million years. Like I would, there's not so you will get to that point where you become unemployable. That's what we talk about. And brokers that I work with, we talk about getting to that point where you become unemployable now. And it's a case of burn the ships. It's like we talk about burning the boats, burning the ships. Literally, so
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
go back. You can't go back. And I think, and that's the thing as well, is that people don't because they go back to that comfort zone. But what they need to stick in their mind, and the thing that I do drive home with a lot of people that I talk to is you left that industry or you left that job for a reason in the first place. Now, if it's easy to go back to, it wasn't a strong enough reason to leave it in the first place. Whereas, think about that thing, take yourself back to that place where you were 2 months ago, 6 months ago, wherever it was, and go, do you know what? I hated my job. I hated the industry. And that's why I became a broker. That's why I went self-employed. That's why I did this. Always stay grounded on that fact that you hated that thing you're going back to once. You hated it. Have that in your mind. If you ever think about going back, if you ever think about turning back or giving in,
Mm.
think about why you left that in the first place. Does
Yeah,
that
the
answer your
discomfort.
question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. The discomfort of, and Because when I started my business, there were so many times, even now, like all the time, I get things where it's like, you don't really have any idea if what you're doing works because you don't know until you do it. And so many times I used to think to myself, oh, is this like, gonna work? Should I just stop? And what did really help me, there were two things that really helped me. The first one was thinking to myself, if I that it's definitely not going to work if I stop. That quite helped. And the second thing that really helped me was what you said about the positive sort of influences around you. Because when you were talking about the negative influence of that person who went self-employed and failed, I think this is also quite an important point, and especially with young people. My question is sort of around like, what do you think the importance is of the people you surround yourself with? And I think with young people as well, it's quite easy to surround yourself with people who maybe aren't doing the habits because people are young and they think they don't have to do that yet. They don't need that responsibility. So I just want to know your thoughts on that.
It's important with surrounding yourself by people that actually support you. I think that's the thing is that
Mm.
it's not we see lots of things where you're as good as your weakest support person. I think like these sort of things like that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
people
I've heard
talk
that before.
about. Yeah, and I get that to a certain extent, but you've got this is your race, this is your life, this is what you are choosing to do. So people will always have opinions whether you do the right thing, the wrong thing, be successful, fail. People will always have those opinions. However, it's about that self-motivation and that self-belief because you know what? I'll take that on board. I'll learn from that and taking those snippets of positivity because we will all go through those challenges of
Mm.
we'll always have wake up with days thinking, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Having those sort of doubts and things like that. But it's about pulling those positives out. But so you can always get people that will be positive and they're sort of very much, yeah, you're going to get this, you can do this. And it's okay taking motivation from that and taking advice from those people and things like that. But you've got to have so much inside you to go, do you know what? Yeah, I'll take a bit of that positivity. I can push out that negativity. I don't even let it in because I know that I'm on the right path. I know that I'm going in the right direction and I'm running my own race. And this is, again, it goes back to a thing that I'm very keen on is about you living your life how you want to live it.
Mm.
And yes, you can take a people's opinions and thoughts and feedback, and but you've got to still run your own race. So you surround yourself by positive people, like-minded people, people who want to win and people want to develop. But take the bits of that you want to take from it, because there'll still be some negativity in there, and make sure that you've got the ability to just keep that out. Don't let it in, and certainly don't let it fester in your mind and have any negative influence in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely like quite a skill as well because it's really hard to, if you've got people who sometimes as well very close to you, like family members or friends who are saying things that aren't supportive, like, oh, well, that's not going to work. It can be quite hard to say, well, I'm going to crack on and do it anyway. That's
Yeah,
something I because people when I've said it when I first started my business, my friends did like take the mick out of me and things, and it was quite hard for me to then go like, but I'm just going to stick and do it anyway. But obviously, grateful. I think as well, once you start something and you see the first little bit of success or the first little, when I got my first client, for example, it made it much easier for me to keep going because I
yeah,
saw it come through. But then straight away, like you were saying before, I was automatically onto, well, how do I get three clients? Like it was almost like instant. I loved it for about an hour. And then I was like, next thing.
yeah, yeah. But and that's just natural who we are as human beings. And when you take like people like you said before about your friends, where you can listen to a lot about them, but a lot of their people's opinion. I'm not saying this is your friends, but a lot of people's opinions are their own downfall anyway. They don't
Mm.
feel secure in terms of they can't give you praise. They can't think, do you know what, Louis, you're going to smash this. You're actually going to do this because it might be something inside that they want to do, but they're too scared to do it. And people want you've got to surround yourself with people that want to win and want to be successful because you're going to have people that will say the right things, do the right things, but actually underneath the surface, they're just very jealous or too scared to do what you're
Mm.
doing. That's their downfall kind of thing as well. So again, it goes back to you yourself. This is who you are, and that's sort of case of. And like I said, I get it can be totally hard. And I think from my point of view, experience does really help and mature. Like I'm not saying you maturity, it's not the right word, but do you know what I mean? It's just like
Hmm.
in terms of
Wisdom.
like my friends, yeah, it's like your friends are very like you realize that as the years go by, your friends are less influential on your decisions than they were when you were 16, 17,
Mm.
18, 20, 21. Do you know what I mean? And luckily, my friends have always been like, and my family, my support network's always been a case of they know that I will just do what I want to do anyway. So they will have their input, absolutely, but then there's no go. They just sort of say, "Well, you'll just do what you want anyway, won't you?" Well, yeah, will. Like, but that's down to me in terms of my decisions, and I'll live by my sword, die by my sword, and I've made massive, massive mistakes, but I've always learned from everything. I've learned from those mistakes and move forward and move forward. But
Mm.
it's just ownership and accountability for myself. It's like like this is well, nobody told me what to do. No, like, and if it doesn't work, well, it's my fault. It's my
Yeah.
down to me. Nobody else. I can't blame anybody else. I hate blame culture and that kind of thing of pointing fingers.
Hmm.
That's from my upbringing, really, in terms of the way that was. It was always about just focus on yourself. You're accountable. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Be sort of but just move. If you lose, learn from that and build yourself onto the next one and to the next one, and just keep going. And don't take yourself too serious. I think that's a big thing as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. I think with blame culture as well, I see quite a lot of that in like the younger generation, that there are quite a lot of people who maybe push the blame. And it sometimes does like frustrate me a little bit. Not like annoys me, but frustrates me for them because it's like almost the first step. I've said this to you, I think, before. It's like you got to recognize that when you've done something wrong, it's your fault. And if you know it's your fault, that's good because that means you can also fix it and then do good things from it. But you have to sit there and go like, I wasn't good enough or I made a terrible mistake.
Absolutely. I learned very, very young that if I'm pointing a finger at somebody, there's three fingers pointing back at me. And that's always
Mm.
stuck. Very, very basic stuff. But that's always in my mind. Like, and that's why I hate because it's easy to blame. That's the society that we're in can be very much a blame culture for our failings. Whereas, like you said, if what the well, I said the book stops with you. It's your life. The book stops with you. It always will stop with you. And the quicker you realize that and accept that and understand that you can't go through life, you can go through life blaming people if that's the way you want it to be. But most successful business owners that I talk to and speak to and work with and have conversations with, all of them will say like they're not like blame is just not part of their vocabulary. It's the case of
Mm.
this is my fault. Whatever happens in my business, whatever happens in my life, it's my fault. So the quicker I realize that and understand that, the quicker I'll come out the other side and go again, go stronger, win this time, or fail again and learn again. And you'll come through that far quicker. But if you do it rather than pointing the finger and blaming, it's your fault. This
Hmm.
is this is your life. It's your job. This is
Hmm.
what you're here to do.
Yeah. Well, Craig, I'm about to finish the podcast, but the last question I have for you is that for the people who are listening to this and agreeing with everything that's being said, and they want to, they're hungry for something, they want to be successful. What would you say there's something they can do after they've listened to this podcast that just is like the next, like a step in the right direction?
I think you just be brave in terms of what you want to do. Don't, it's okay to have influences from other people and take other people's thoughts on board, but be brave. Like that is one thing that I always say. And like for not that I have any regrets, but I wasn't brave enough, quick enough, young enough to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And I think that's me being sort of total honest and understanding that understand what you want and just get what you want. Go out there and get it. Don't have any second thoughts. Plan, but just be brave and
Hmm.
just go for what you want. What you want to achieve, you just go for it and make it happen because only you can make it happen.
Okay, great. Well,
Does
thank you
that
very
answer your
much.
question?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, yeah. So I'm thinking the next thing that someone can do then, if you're saying to be brave, is maybe have a think about what it is that because everyone has something that they want to start, and I think sometimes there can be things that they're fearful of that don't start them. I remember one thing I always wanted to do was one thing I was always scared to do when I first started my business was send a message to someone who I didn't know, just a salesy message. I was always terrified to do it. And I remember one night I was just like, I'm just going to send one. And I did. And guess what? It got ignored. It got completely ignored. No one responded to it. But like, it's fine. Nothing happened. I didn't like, no one
yes,
like cared.
no, no,
So yeah,
yeah, no, that and that's it. No, it's don't worry about what other people think.
yeah,
Absolutely don't. Just because people don't care, don't worry about them. Just you will focus on yourself. Just be brave and get on with it.
yeah. Well, Craig, thank you very much for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. And sorry for getting a bit passionate, but I do get passionate on these sorts of things. So I
No,
appreciate
not at all. It's been great.
it. Been good conversation. So thanks, Louis.
Yeah, thank you.